Musical Talk, the UK's independent musical theatre podcast. Hello and welcome to this very special festive end of the year edition of Musical Talk. I'm Thos Ribbits, or am I? Well, if you said yes, you're correct. And it means you've already got into the swing of today's proceedings, because this is our now traditional end-of-the-year festive quiz, which we call Merry Quizmas and a Happy New Earful 2015. And so what you're going to get today is a whole series of musical theatre related questions and lots of songs, some of which you'll never have heard before. Yes, we're proud to give you a few exclusives today, and I'm very much looking forward to being able to present them to you. It's a real honour. And the first song we're going to play today is a brand new exclusive. It's written by Musical Talk's own Nick Hudson, with lyrics by Robert Gordon, and it's the opening number from a show which as yet is untitled, but is set in the Roman era. The reference to bent in the lyric, by the way, and I've checked this with the writers, relates to crookedness. And if you think this song has just a feel of Stephen Sondheim, you'd be absolutely right. It reminds me a lot of Comedy Tonight. And so, whilst you're listening to it, you can chew over this very first question. What is Stephen Sondheim's middle name?
We appear with our mask and our mime, we are here. Without reason or rhyme, we will play something bold and risque. Our aim's to please you. Pirates we, sailing out on a spree, or old men who can't tell where or when, or some slaves hiding out in some caves, fleeing like fleas do. We can be quite free with our rapiers and wit. We are either a flop or a palpable hit. We often fall in the pit, but we try to amuse you and never abuse you. See the girls with their heads in the air, and the boys who have courage to spare. Let's just say they've been trying all day. They're here to please you. Sailors ho, ooh, but their ship's rather slow. And that gent, well, he seems rather bent. That battalion, who aren't Italian, might just bruise you. Yet the children suspect things are not as they seem, and the parents seem tense and they don't make much sense. Pompeii wasn't built in a day, but the plot must unravel and there'll be a chance to travel. Meet the spies who tell very large lies, and the dog smelling things in the smog. Scary men who are at it again, they're scaring me too. Greet the wives with their frustrating lives, husbands who don't come home until 2. Her flute plays in mysterious ways to try and ease you. We will act up a storm, so please let us perform. We will show you a fight when the pirates take flight, and you'll be laughing all night. We'll jump through a hoop, we'll fly loop-de-loop. To conquer we'll stoop, just to amuse you.
There we are, a song called Just to Amuse You by Nick Hudson and Robert Gordon. And as I said before, that song owes more than a nod to Comedy Tonight from the show A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which has music and lyrics by one Stephen Joshua Sondheim. Talking of the show called Forum, Stephen Sondheim revealed in an interview with Broadway World that he wrote the score with one famous American actor in mind for the role of Pseudolus, but that actor turned it down. Who was it? And whilst you're thinking, here's a song from the Quentin Denton Show, written by Henry Carpenter, called Everything is Fine.
One 100 years ago, you got no peace of mind. You'd struggle sober through the vast expanse of time. Then benefactors came and you were redesigned. And now you're clean and bright and everything is fine. Doesn't come for free, you have to make some sacrifices. You have to turn the cameras on and feed the databases. But soon you'll learn to ward away your existential crisis with lots of friends and lovely films and beautiful devices. And everything is fine. Where can I find the beautiful? The billboards show the proof. Their faces are inscrutable, their pictures tell the truth. Their cheekbones are unstoppable, their haircuts are divine. No need to be unsociable when everything is fine.
So, who was the man that Stephen Sondheim had in mind for the role of Pseudolus? It was, of course, Phil Silvers, who you might better know as Sergeant Bilko. Funnily enough, he would actually go on to play that role when the show was revived on Broadway in 1972. Next question. Frankie Howerd is the man most associated with the role of Pseudolus when A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum came to London, and indeed was revived in London several times thereafter. Frankie Howerd also appeared in several Gilbert and Sullivan operas. He was the judge in Trial by Jury, but what role did he play in the televised version of HMS Pinafore from the 1980s? And to get your thinking caps on and get you thinking in the right direction, here's a song by an old friend of this programme, Michael Gordon Shapiro. The song is called Subterfuge, and it comes from the mini-musical HMS Headwind, which is a tongue-in-cheek homage to Gilbert and Sullivan and, of course, HMS Pinafore. It's a mini-musical about the crew of an 18th century British frigate in hot pursuit of the infamous Pirate Queen of the North Sea. And it's very reminiscent of the end of Act 1 of HMS Pinafore, quite deliberately.
With furtive stealth and cloak of night, we stalk like kestrels to the fight. With movement swift through night-time air, we take our victims unaware. With iron guns and steely nerve, we sail to bat till unobserved, invisible, and unperceived, are comings not to be believed. With furtive stealth and cloak, I'll have my revenge.
Lay out my paws.
Just show me the
With
French.
movement swift through night, duty is my cargo.
Our victory shines
Oh,
great.
this damned escargot.
Our victims unaware, we take our victims unaware.
There we are. That was Subterfuge by Michael Gordon Shapiro. And the singers were Anthony Grapuzzo, Nate Larson, Jenna Johnson, Jace Lindgren, Emily Sotelo, John Paul Burkhart, and Miguel Vargas. And the answer to the question, what role did Frankie Howerd play in HMS Pinafore? He was Sir Joseph Porter. The version of HMS Pinafore that we're talking about was actually part of a series of television adaptations of all the Gilbert and Sullivan opera, from Trial by Jury up to The Gondoliers. It left out Utopia Limited and The Grand Duke for some reason. Although perhaps not artistically very successful, that series of television adaptations of the Savoy operas in the 1980s could only be described as star-studded, because it featured people such as Vincent Price, Joel Grey and Clive Revill. But here's the next question. In the series, the role of the modern Major General, that's General Stanley, from the Pirates of Penzance, was played by which Anglo-Australian singer who died in November of this year? And to get you thinking in a Victorian way, let's listen to a song by Joe Turner and Dave Spencer from their musicalisation of Oscar Wilde's Dorian Gray, called A Work of Stark Morality.
A work of stark morality, or even immortality, soon sinks into banality when looked into at all. And those who find the ugly in things of simple beauty are corrupt, not charming, and this is merely fault.
Beauty only serves to make the very brightest minds stumble to their deaths in chasms deep below.
A boy in England's capital, his mother quite a radical. She ran away with one who was a different kind of man. A baby she did start to bear, the shame of which she had to wear. Her father he did not approve and had the man swiftly removed. When in childbirth she did die, her cherub son at night he cried that face could launch 1,000 ships from his home untimely rift.
In his heart a darkness fell, a darkness that would lead to hell, a hell to which his soul he'd sell, and sell it well he would.
Beauty only serves to make the very brightest minds stumble to their deaths in chasms deep below.
Art and beauty hand in hand, a purpose that the great ones planned, a purpose humble, flawless, pure, leaves you always wanting more.
But art is useless just the same, a meaning that cannot be named, is shrined within its hallowed form, awakens those who spurn the norm. Weary should those poor souls be, the surface is not all they see. They laugh at those who cannot be content with prettiness and shine. Beware of them that seek below the paint and patina, the glow that clings to art and all things bright. This peril will become their plight.
This boy did try to find in art a meaning he could take to heart, a symbol lesson, magic spell for life immortal, begged from hell.
Strength to keep his wondrous face, the only man in all the race to save beauty from such waste. From life's cruelty he'd escape, pleaded that one fateful day he could remain just Dorian Gray.
Well, the question was, what was the name of the actor who played General Stanley in The Pirates of Penzance in the television adaptation in the 1980s, who died this year? It was Keith Michell, who was a performer I very much admired. He had huge versatility, so he played everything from Henry VIII and also narrated to the Captain Beaky records, if you're aware of those. Amazingly, he also appeared in 3 musicals which had the word La, L-A, in the title. So the next question is, what were the names of those shows? Remember, All three had the word la in the title. And as 3 is a number, let's have a song about numbers. This is another one from the Quentin Dentin Show, and it's called, get this and see what I've done, Numbers.
Numbers, numbers, numbers tell me everything I ever need to know. Numbers can be high and numbers can be low. Other numbers up, other numbers up, other numbers down, other numbers down, other numbers up, other numbers up, other numbers down, other numbers down. Number? Is it 5? Is it 5? What's your favourite thing about being alive? Is it poetry or piety or aiding your society? If you don't like ambiguity, can't tell ugliness from beauty, take my hand and learn exactly where you stand. Superheated air expands and that's what causes thunder. Health is 16 hours awake and 8 per hour slumber. When I started singing you were 60 seconds younger, and I'll continue singing for 100 seconds longer. In a groove. Other numbers up, other numbers down, 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 other numbers up, other numbers down.
Well, the question was, what was the name of the 3 musicals that Keith Michelle appeared in, which all had the word la in the title? And here we go with the answer. He played the character Nestor Lafrippe in the 1958 musical Irma la Douche. He played Cervantes and Don Quixote in Man of La Mancha in the London premiere in 1968. And he also played George in La Cage aux Folles in the 1980s. And he also appeared in the television adaptations of Gilbert and Sullivan's Ruddigore and The Gondoliers, and many other musicals besides. So, sticking with Ruddigore and The Gondoliers, or at least Gilbert and Sullivan, we all know that Gilbert and Sullivan were the preeminent musical theatre writing partnership in the 1870s, 80s and early 90s. Now, they were British, of course, but did you know that there was also a very famous American writing partnership operating at the same time, who are credited with being the godfathers of the American musical before George M. Cohan? So, next question. What were their names? And your thinking time is exactly the same amount of time as it takes to listen to the next song, which comes from the musical Jesus Camp, the comedy musical by Dan Peter Reeves, Bethan Francis and Winston Eade.
I'm gonna go to heaven, up to the sky and be free. Yes, I'm gonna go to heaven, just Mary and Joseph and Jesus and me.
CNJ Christian Radio. Today we'll be talking about a new brand of Christianity, an evangelical summer camp recruiting kids to an extremist and, quite frankly, scary set of beliefs. Would you expect your child to lay down their life in the name of Christ our Savior? We'll be talking about that and more after this short break.
School's out for summer, and there's no time to lose. So many ways to fill your days, but how do you choose? Some kids do swim camp, some kids smoke crack. But if you really want to change the world, pick Jesus Camp. You only get one chance to make a difference. You only have one choice if you want to save your soul.
And hey kids, that's the goal.
Tell your mom you're ready and your bags are packed, 'cause anyone can come by to Jesus Camp. To Jesus Camp. To Jesus Camp.
0900 hours. Arrived at Sarah Chastity's Christian Camp for Kids, North Dakota.
Dear God, please make this the best summer ever and help me to show others the true power of your love. Better pack my Bible and a crucifix or two. Jesus needs me to spread his love, so that's what I'm gonna do. These kids will need a direction, Jesus told me in my dreams. Gonna show those kids exactly what being a child of God really means. 'Cause Jesus has touched me, yes, he touched me deep and true. I'll let every kid who goes to Jesus Camp know that he will touch them too. Yes, he will.
Driving down the highway, flashing our headlamps. All the cool kids are on their way to Jesus Camp. To Jesus Camp.
To Jesus.
To Jesus. To Jesus. To Jesus Camp.
Well, the question was, who were the American Gilbert and Sullivan, at least in terms of being contemporaries? The answer is Harrigan and Hart. Not that well known these days, but in their time very influential and very successful. They were Edward Harrigan, 1844 to 1911, and believe it or not, someone called Tony Hart, who, if you're British, will be a name very familiar to you. That's a very different Tony Hart. But the American Tony Hart was born Anthony J. Cannon, and he was born in 1855 and he died in 1891, quite young. Harrigan wrote the book and the lyrics together. Music was by a man called David Braham, and Hart, who didn't do either, gets the credit because he was part of a double act with Harrigan and appeared in his shows. I think objectively we have to say they aren't quite Gilbert and Sullivan in terms of what they were able to do, and they were very much several steps behind them in their attempts to develop musical theatre. But they were responsible for the push from sketch, variety and revue into musical plays, which is very much the step that needed to be taken to create musical theatre as we know it. It's the other route into musical theatre that isn't operetta or comic opera. It's the invention of a narrative into which songs are created. So that's what we owe Harrigan and Hart. Now, Harrigan and Hart's working relationship was celebrated in a musical which didn't last very long, which was called Harrigan and Hart, and was produced in 1985. Harry Groner, who later found fame as Mayor Wilkins in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, played Harrigan, but which actor from Star Wars played Hart? And whilst you're trying to dredge up a film-related answer, let's listen to a film-related musical song. This is the overture to the wonderful Edinburgh Fringe show Cine Musical by Lawrence Owen.
An adventure in music alone. Sounds acoustical will be guiding our way as we venture into the unknown. Cine musical, though the venue's for over 18s. This is suitable for the family as well, so let's call it a PG-13. Just my pre-recorded soundtrack and a microphone. And cause I can't afford to pay more actors, I'm doing it all on my own. Cine musical, it's like watching a film with your ears. Not so beautiful, but I hope nonetheless we can picture amazing frontiers. There may be thoughtful bits disguised as trivial shit, and at the heart of it, a part of it sincere. Our love of cinema, thrills and movie stars, and swooning orchestras are all because real life is pretty lame. So escape with me today. Sound is a powerful guide for the things that we feel inside. With just some orchestration and your imagination, you'll make the pictures in your mind. Cine musical, listen well to the tidings I bring. Unusual will be drifting your way in a storm cloud of trumpets and strings. Cine musical is a really hard word to make rhyme. Roman numerals are a really hard way to remember the date and the time. Now the credit sequence ends and the adventure starts. There'll be grunting and panting and substandard acting and maybe a minor award for original
score. Well, the question was, which Star Wars actor appeared as Hart in the 1985 short-lived musical Harrigan and Hart? And the answer is Mark Hamill. We observed only a few weeks ago that Mark Hamill sang as himself in a show business style in The Muppet Show in 1980, so obviously he had a taste for it. And the show Harrigan and Hart only lasted 24 previews and 4 proper performances. It was not a great success. So the next question actually is some sad news. Which British musical, which has been running since 2005, has announced that it will finally be closing, at least in London, in April 2016. Have a think about that, and whilst you're doing so, we'll listen to a medley of songs from the marvellous comic opera The Secretary Turned CEO, which is a radical refurbishment of La Serva Padrona, yet another musical with La in the title, which is a seminal comic intermezzo by Pergolesi from 1733 and is often identified as being one of the many godfathers or strands which created comic opera and then comic musical theatre. This version has music by Daniel Dondi and words by Becca Marriott, and it's fantastic.
Oh, you accuse me of everything and anything. The poor.
You're not.
Well, dwarf,
Your butt.
I want
Do you agree with
Do you
that?
agree with
I
it?
agree with
Am I to
that.
be
Is she
believed?
left us?
Is she her dad and I don't think so.
Is she in charge?
Is she her dad and I?
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no.
You gave me 20 pounds and you never asked for it back. Just deducted it from my salary. Such a generous boss.
I know.
Magnificent.
Munificent.
Benevolent.
Beneficent.
And you know, life is more expensive these days. My rent is way up, and my Oyster card at the end of the month. Then you put my payday up.
I know. When I buy my hummus in Waitrose, it's like £2. Damn it. Where is my master?
I want a raise.
Race? Are they?
I need a raise.
Are they? Serena?
I can't work anymore on minimum
Are you
wage.
trying to bankrupt me?
I do all the work on here and I deserve a raise.
Well, that's it. You're fired, damn it. How, I say. You can take your nail polish, your fluffy pens, and your glossy bum, and get out of my offices this instant. I can stand your talk, your walk, or your stupid face anymore.
You can't find me, you can't find me. Shut up, shut up, shut up. You can't find me. And I would pay corporation tax or national insurance or even VAT.
What? Since when?
Since ever.
And now? What's going to happen to us?
1 year, 2 years, 3 years prison.
I'm nothing without you. Serena, you're a part of me. You are a very heart of me, such a part of me, oh, the heart of me. Oh, poor defenseless creature, what will become of you? What will become of you? It is so generous to me, it is so generous to me, it is so generous to me. All these numbers, all these tables. Serena, I just don't know. A coward. A coward! I have no bones! No bones!
There we are then, a medley of the Secretary turned CEO. And if you want to see the entire one-act musical comedy opera, The Secretary turned CEO, you can. It's online on Vimeo. Here's the address, vimeo.com/727478584. I saw it in Edinburgh. I watched it again online. Marvellous. But the answer to my question, what long-running British show has announced that it's going to close in April 2016, the answer, of course, is Billy Elliot. Or more appropriately, using the accent, Billy Elliot. It's a show which was spoofed in the very excellent musical Ushers as being a production which thrilled tourists with its heady mix of impenetrable northern accents and 30-year-old British politics. However, the show of course references British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. But which other British musical, which closed earlier this year, featured her predecessor but one, Harold Wilson? And whilst you're waiting, let's have a song from the recent recording of Florodora, the hit from 1899. And I'm really delighted to be able to bring you this song. It's called Phrenology. It's the patter song from the show. It's sung by Thomas Pettiott, and my thanks go to him and to the Comic Opera Guild for allowing me to play this song. And we'll be doing a number of episodes about Florodora in the new year, so do hang around for that. I'm sure you'll be delighted. So think about the answer to the question and enjoy this song from Florodora.
wise at marriage, you must choose your wife with phrenologic care. For the realm beneath her bonnet has your future mapped upon it. So when you're engaged, take down her hair.
When you're engaged, take down her hair.
For she may complain it fidgets as you fumble with her digits. You reveal a well-developed bump of crime. You may find her one day thickening your nocturnal gruel with strychnine. Be advised and jilt her while there's time, and jilt her while there's time.
And jilt her while there's time. So be advised and jilt her while there's time. Be advised and jilt her while there's time.
So you know when a need be dreaded once phrenology's defined. What is the virtue that will hurt you and the vice you need in mind? Meet science with defiance, and to grief you'll surely come if you are scorning every warning of the cranium.
So you know when you can learn what's phrenologist defined. What is the virtue that will hurt you and the vice you need in mind? So science and defiance, and to grief you'll surely come if you are scorning every warning of the cranium.
If a bump of love is bigger than the normal, you can figure out the number of former love affairs. You may look for much vexation from promiscuous flirtation on returning home all unaware.
Returning home all unawares.
Say it's marked but very slightly, you can guess that she'll politely, when you kiss her, turn a very chilly cheek. And you only get caresses while she's ordering new dresses. At the most, not more than one a week. No more than one a week.
Not more than one a week. Not the most, not more than one a week. Not the most, not more than one a week.
How about the marriage? And this marriage is the usual blind affair. Just a scramble and a gamble with the prizes very rare. And the crisis, my advice is with your finger and your thumb, explore the mountains and the molehills of the cranium.
So you know when you can dreading what's phrenologist defined. What is the virtue that will hurt you and the vice you need in time? So science and defiance, and to grief you shouldn't come if you are scorning every warning of the cranium.
There we are, Thomas Pettiott singing in the role of Gilfrane with the chorus of the Comic Opera Guild. More from them next year when we talk about Florodora in detail. But they're such a good organisation. Do go along to www.comicoperaguild, or one word, .org. They have an amazing array of unique recordings which they have made of shows where there are simply no other recordings available. It's wonderful. That's the Comic Opera Guild. Well, that's given you plenty of time to be thinking about the answer to the question, which was, which British musical, which closed earlier this year, featured Harold Wilson, British Prime Minister in the 1960s and 70s? And the answer is Made in Dagenham. Harold Wilson was played in that show by Mark Hadfield, who also played the baker in the acclaimed version of Into the Woods in the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre a few years ago. So the next question is simply, which famous Bond film actress was also in that production? And whilst you work that out, here's a song from Cautionary Tales for Daughters by Tanya Holt.
I wanna be a cowboy riding on the plains, just me and Pepito, my pony, fighting Injuns in wigwams. Me and Pepito be famous, daring dudes would make our name. I'd be a star in the saloon bar, win a fortune in a game. But I can't be no cowboy, 'cause those girls can't ride. her pies. I'd learn to shoot at old tin cans. I'd win the rodeo prize. My lasso would be the fastest. I'd catch them rolling steers. The girls would all admire me. I'd hear the grown men cheer. You can't be a cowboy, you have to be a squaw. If you want to play this game with us, abide by the schoolyard law. Saloon dancer or be a horse, that's what girls should be. No, you can't play this game with us, 'cause she's cannot be he's. I wanna be a cowboy out there on my own. Just me and Pepito, my buddy. The wilds would be our home. We'd ride away from people, no one to make us sad, by telling me that we can't dream about things we'll never have. Stop this cowboy talk of yours and be like other girls. Put on a dress and play with dolls, wear your hair in curls. Pa gets real mad at me, hates my boyish ways, says he'll love me once again when I'm through my cowboy phase. I wanna be a cowboy, but it's proving mighty hard. Me and Pepito are getting lonesome in the yard. So I will be a princess, that's what I gotta be. I'll squeeze this cowboy out of me and set Pepito free. Mary, Mary, dry them eyes, someday you'll see. The world is full of cowgirls roaming happily.
Well, I think that was a very simple question. Which famous Bond film actress was also in Into the Woods in the Regent's Park production? The answer is Dame Judi Dench. She also appeared many years ago in the British version of Cabaret as Sally Bowles, when Sally Bowles was still British. However, for many people, Dame Judi remains most famous these days as M in the James Bond films, including briefly in this year's rather marvellous Spectre. But what surprising James Bond news was announced this year in July? And here's another song from Jesus Camp, the comedy musical, to chew over whilst you're having a think.
Don't you get it, Lucy Skipper? I'm not a nice kid. I'm bad.
Oh, you're not so bad.
Oh, yeah? I draw on the walls and I blame my baby brother. I talk back to my dad. I never listen to my mother. I'm so bad. I'm so goddamn bad. Been dealt 40 detentions. I only showed my face for 2. Every last one of my library books is well and truly overdue. I don't see my prayers at night, ain't never gonna do my chores. So face it, toots, and fill your boots, 'cause I'm bad to the core. I'm at war with the world, and the world is going down. I've made my decision, I'm a military precision, gonna burn it to the ground. 'Cause I'm so bad, I'm so goddamn bad. That's right, I'm bad, so bad. I'm so bad, I'm so goddamn bad. That's right, I'm bad, so bad.
Sweet baby Jesus, son of God! Don't you hear yourself, Chad Foster? It doesn't take a genius to guess. You're on a path to destruction and a life on crystal meth.
Bring it on, Lucy. You see, my parents can't control me. I've been shipped from school to school. But those jerks, they can't contain me. 'Cause I'm bad, but I'm no fool. No, I'm a goddamn American. I'm one of Uncle Sam's boys. Live fast, die young, get me a real gun and ditch these stupid toys.
Oh, say, can you sing?
For the chaos I bring.
What?
I'm at war with the world, and the world is going down. I've made my decision, I'm a military precision, gonna burn it to the ground. 'Cause I'm so bad, I'm so goddamn bad. That's right, I'm bad, so bad. I'm so bad, I'm so goddamn bad. That's right, I'm bad, so bad. School wrote a letter to my dad. He was furious. Went on and on about how important the army was to him and how much I'd embarrassed him. He said I'd never be a soldier.
Why?
He says I lack discipline and have no respect for authority.
Oh, so they sent you here?
Well, not exactly.
What happened then?
Finally, my dad lost his temper. He's got a mean right arm.
Oh, Chad.
So just for jokes, I stole his smokes and set fire to his car.
You set fire to his car?
Well, sort of. I put a smoke out in the glove box, but the whole thing would have gone up if they hadn't caught me. And you know what, Lucy?
What?
I don't give a damn because
You're so bad.
that's right, I'm bad. So wake up, Lucy, take note and see. You better pray that you can stay far away from me. 'Cause I'm bad.
Well, the question was, what surprising James Bond news was announced in July 2015? Well, the answer is Mary Saltzman, who's the daughter of the former Bond film producer, the late Harry Saltzman, announced that a James Bond musical would be produced in 2017 or 2018. The book apparently is by Dave Clark, with music and lyrics by J. Henry Whites. However, this is not, as you might think, uncontroversial, because the Bond film producers claim that they own all the stage rights as well, and have refuted the claim that this musical can be made. However, in response, Ms. Saltzman has said that as the musical will be a parody, she doesn't need those rights under American law. I think time will tell on this one. Frankly, it's hard to tell when James Bond isn't parodying itself anyway. However, next question. Whilst it's well known that Albert Cubby Broccoli, who produced the early Bond films with Harry Saltzman, produced the much-loved film musical Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, it's much less well known that Saltzman produced a musical film in 1970 starring Olivia Newton-John. What was the name of that film? Now, this is quite obscure, but you might know the answer because you're the kind of person who's interested in musicals. So the people most likely to be able to answer a question like that are people like you. And lo and behold, the next song, yes, is called People Like You. See, I've done it again. Once again from the very excellent Quentin Dentin Show.
Wake up in the morning, step into the sunshine, look all around you, people surround you, the universe beckons, but it's people you trust, you desire their attention, and you need to be loved. So you get up on a soapbox and start shilling your wares, your unique opinions, but nobody cares. They take it as an insult, and an insult it is. They prefer you on default, no one likes to be quizzed.
If you think you're a freak, you feel different and strange, stop nursing your ego and you'll find you're the same. You're not long on this planet, why cause yourself strife? I can free you from panic, this is the meaning of life.
Making people Making people like you. Making people. Making people like you. Winning admiration. It's simple and quick. Use intimidation. Hit them with a stick. Or tell them that you love them. They want it to be true. If you close your eyes, you might half believe it too. It doesn't matter how you make friends. What matters is the number. That's how you make trends. They don't know me from Adam, but they sing out my hymn. With mass comes momentum. Friends are good for one thing.
If you think you're a freak, you feel different and strange. Stop nursing your ego and you'll find you're the same. You're not long on this planet, why cause yourself strife? I can free you from panic, this is the meaning of life.
Making people. Making people like you. Making more people. Making people like you.
Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody gets the same thing. Everybody is the same thing.
Well, the question was, what was the name of the 1970 musical film starring Olivia Newton-John? And the answer is Tomorrow, and that's Toomorrow. Never heard of it? Surely not. Here's the plot. A group of students pay their way through school by forming a pop band called Tomorrow. But sonic vibrations from a special instrument that they use, called a tonalizer, cause an extraterrestrial to abduct the pop group. And they, the aliens, force the group to entertain the population of their home planet. Who hasn't lived through that experience? And the reason you've never heard of it, or at least probably never heard of it, is because it only played for 1 week in the cinemas, in London, at the London Pavilion, no longer a cinema, but was pulled after the director, Val Guest, served an injunction on the producer, Harry Saltzman, because he hadn't been paid. It has amazingly resurfaced on DVD recently, so if you're intrigued and wish to tickle your proverbial fancy, you can now see it. Well, Harry Saltzman produced the film with a man called Don Kirshner, and Don Kirshner was the initial producer of the musical output of The Monkees, the TV show featuring that pop group. Now, the Monkees, the actual performers themselves, had a strong friendship with Harry Nilsson. So much so that Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones even went on to appear in a London stage production of a musical by Harry Nilsson at the Mermaid Theatre in 1977. But what was it called? Well, once again, we're going to play a song while you have a think about it. And this, I'm delighted to say, is a world premiere. The song is called Gwen's Lament, and it's written by the ever-talented Michael Gordon Shapiro, and I'm grateful to him for letting us play this premiere. It's from his musical Macho Manly Men, which is about a downtrodden fella who decides to turn his life around with a visit to an extreme athletics resort. Also working at this resort is an unemployed history student called Gwen, who laments her situation in this song. And you're listening to the lovely voice of Heather Lake in Gwen's Lament.
When I was young, I envisioned my days treading the halls of an Ivy League college, basking in wisdom's enlightening rays, ever embarked on a journey of knowledge. As it turns out, the professor's supply rather exceeds the existing demand, making paid teaching gigs quite hard to land. And so I've learned to take deep satisfaction that I have a job. Yes, I have a job. I used to dream of enlightening youth and guiding their minds with the tenets of reason, nurturing lifelong commitment to truth, believing that compromise constitutes treason, swelling with pride as they walk down the aisle, heading out into that final frontier where it turns out unemployment's severe. Hence my aforementioned gratitude to have a job, 'cause I needed a job. Outside school, there's rent and insurance and co-pays and leases. As a rule, no one gives you a grant to develop a thesis. The outside world is ill-defined and inexplicable. All the skills I attained by applying myself now seem inapplicable. Maybe one day I'll return to that place of ivory towers and riveting courses, find a committee and argue my case, and spend my days pondering primary sources, yearning to learn all the wonders of life as I press on with my doctoral scheme, which every day seems more like a dream. Or I can stay here where so happens I still have a job,
Why are you still here?
a real paying job,
Hey lady, take off your shirt.
a bona fide job.
Gwen, please report to the paint gun arena and bring a mop.
Hooray!
Well, the question was, what was the name of the musical by Harry Nilsson, featuring Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones, which went into the Mermaid Theatre in London in 1977? Well, the show was called The Point. It was about a boy called Oblio, who's the only round-headed person in the Pointed Village, where by law, everyone and everything must have a point. And it was based on one of Harry Nilsson's albums. Next question. Harry Nilsson was the first person to record a Stephen Sondheim song. It was a private pressing of an unused musical song, which was given to the wife of Hal Prince as a Christmas present in the late 1960s. But what was the name of the song? And to put you off completely, let's listen to a totally different song. This is called The Ark, and it's yet another premiere from Michael Gordon Shapiro. And it's from his new show, The Showrunner, which is currently in development. And this sounds fantastic. It's a musical about a writer-producer of a Star Trek-esque television series who finds out that his masterpiece is being cancelled. And he vows to cram the remaining 5 seasons of continuity into the space of the one remaining episode. I think this is fantastic. So this song is the opener of that show and provides some backstory for the lead. And you're listening to Jason Curry singing it. This is The Ark by Michael Gordon Shapiro from The Showrunner.
When I was a boy, it hit me like a bidding from Calliope. A vision of the greatest epic science fiction saga of our age. A story that would span 1,000 years and show the future of the human race. A story set in space, with all the stars and galaxies its stage. Through the years I honed my craft, growing through each sketch and draft, bringing to fruition my expansive long-form exposition. An ark, an ark, my fable's heart, my work of art, the story overall. Nothing's left to chance, the structure of the narrative is paramount. A whisper in the pilot resonates in the finale like a gong. A series of surprises draws us ever nearer to the final mystery. The saga's apogee, a veritable storm of Sturm und Drang.
Every chapter, plot and twist, poised in perfect synthesis, readying to render into 30 months of sci-fi splendor. The Ark! The Ark! Racing through the airways of our nation, surging through the culture in a groundswell, the story that I waited all my life to tell, my spark. The Ark!
There we are, a world premiere there from The Showrunner by Michael Gordon Shapiro. Go along to his website, it's well worth a look. He's a very, very talented man. The address, mikemusic.com. And the name of the Sondheim song that Harry Nilsson sung on a private recording, it was Marry Me a Little, which you probably know as one of the predecessor songs for Being Alive, the finale of Company. And there is a story behind this, and it's rather a good one because it seems there was a very good chance that Marry Me a Little would never be completed as a song. This story comes from Meryl Seacrest's very brilliant biography of Stephen Sondheim called Stephen Sondheim, A Life. And in it, she explains that Hal Prince, the director of Company, had a wife called Judy, with whom Stephen Sondheim was a very close friend. They were symbiotic, it's described as. And he was working on Marry Me a Little as the finale song for Company, the show that was currently in development. And he told Hal Prince that he'd started the song, but he was going to abandon it because it just didn't fit with the plot. Hal Prince looked at the lyrics and agreed, but what they didn't know is their conversation had been overheard by Judy Prince, who said, "I don't care whether it fits or not, I just think it's fabulous." And so when Stephen Sondheim was trying to think of a Christmas gift for his close friend Judy Prince, he decided to finish the song and asked Harry Nilsson to record it, and then presented a copy of the record to her. And thank goodness that she insisted that he finished it. Well, as I said, Marry Me a Little is one of the numbers that was ultimately replaced by Being Alive. Well, the person who introduced that number in the very first Broadway production of Company sadly died this year. What was his name? And I'll give you a clue, it's not the object of the following song, which is by Sue Casson and her English Cabaret Hour this summer in 2015. I've played it before on Musical Talk, but it's well worth another listen.
I miss you, Alan Titchmarsh, with your cheeky gap-toothed grin and air of affability that masks the wasp within. For a simple toiler of the soil, you brushed up pretty smart and captured every female gardener's heart. Blazer sharp, fingers green, you brightened every gardening scene, almost a border on your own. Shirts fairy pinks, fairy blues, a myriad of rosy hues, but always perfect in their tone. I miss you, Alan Titchmarsh, no common name for you. A Palustrous minor of variegated hue. You were a hardy annual, perennially a pro. Though once our afternoon delight, now we snuggle up in bed at night. Unkindly cut, it wasn't right. Why did they let you go? You were Chelsea gold, undisputed best in show. Fruit and veg, all presented with a pleasing edge, cutting views and how and when to sow. Cause a spade, always decoratively displayed. You're wasted on the radio. Be-be-be-do, I miss you, Alan Titchmarsh, a northern cultivar. You climbed from being no but a lad to the everyman you are. I miss your jokey blokiness, and how's your garden grow? You truly were a bloom so rare, with that surprising boyish hair. You stalked the green with theatrical flair. Why did they let you go? You were Chelsea gold, undisputed best. You were Chelsea gold, never silver gilt. You were Chelsea gold, undisputed best in show.
Well, there we are. We've established that the man who died this year, who introduced the song Being Alive in the original production of Company, was not Alan Titchmarsh. However, it was Dean Jones, who died earlier this year. Now, he's most famous for appearing in a number of Disney films, including That Darn Cat and one of the Herbie films. But he was also in Elvis Presley's Jailhouse Rock, the film, in 1957, and then he went on to play Robert, the central character of Company, in 1970. But he only played it for 2 weeks before stepping out of the production for the very excellent Larry Kurt. Now, as you probably know, Company is by that famous composer Stephen Sondheim. But what is Stephen Sondheim's middle name? Oh, I've already asked that question, haven't I? Which means we've come full circle. That is the end of the quiz for this year, and indeed it's the end of Musical Talk for this year. So, first of all, thank you very much for listening this far. It may be that you thought some of the questions were a bit obscure, but I hope you've learnt something today, even if it's only never to listen to Musical Talk again. I always think quizzes are much more fun when they're a challenge and you don't know all the answers. Although I did know all the answers, I've got them written down here on a piece of paper in front of me. However, that is quite enough of that. This is the last episode of Musical Talk for 2015. And so on behalf of all of us here from Musical Talk, may I wish you a marvellous 2016. And I do hope you'll join us next year, which is our 10th anniversary. Yes, we've been going 10 years. Hard to believe. And in the course of next year, there's going to be a number of special episodes to celebrate, not least those Floradora episodes I was talking about earlier. I'm up to my ears in research for that, so I do hope you're going to enjoy that and Musical Talk for another year. But for now, of course, there's only one word that will possibly suffice. I think you know what it is, but I'm going to say it, as always anyway. Goodbye. This episode of Musical Talk, edited, researched and presented by Thos Ribbits. Copyright Musical Talk 2015, except for the songs where the copyright remains with all the original creators, and my great thanks to them for allowing me to play their songs on Musical Talk over the course of the year. It has been my privilege to help showcase their work. See you next year.